So we sit here, it is July 21st, and this is the day of release for your solo project,
That's
correct?
right. Yes, today's the day. I feel so grateful. I mean, all of the emotions kind of all at once, but the main emotion I feel is just gratitude that the songs are here. We worked really hard for the better part of a year. And so it just feels like such a relief to get these songs out. I just feel really grateful.
Now, if I'm correct in what I've read, you had no plans of doing a solo project?
That's correct. Yeah, I really just never had it in my heart. Never was a desire to do my own project or to write my own songs necessarily, but just felt like the Lord had invited me into this process. It was early 2022 where I felt like I started to sit at the piano and started to write songs that maybe didn't feel exactly like what we would sing on a Sunday morning at Elevation. It felt more like me. It felt more like a personal, devotional type of song that I would want to say to the Lord. And so felt like he just began to invite me into this process. And so thankful to my church and the house that I'm a part of that kind of gave me the ability to say, let's chase after this. Let's see what the Lord wants to do through these songs. So.
And the project is called Hidden Here.
Hidden Here.
And that's the title track as well.
That's correct.
Tell me, was that the first song that came? How did that happen?
No, not necessarily. Not the first song that came. Actually, this project was nameless for a long time because I couldn't figure out what would encapsulate maybe the heart of this project. And I was actually at dinner with my sister and she kind of brought up, you should call it Hidden Here. And it was just this moment of like, my life verse has always been Psalm 91 of like those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High will be hidden in the shadow of the Almighty. And what does it look like to remain hidden in a shadow? And so that theme of being hidden here, hidden in the presence of God, hidden in the secret place with Him, is just kind of a thread that's themed throughout a lot of the songs. And so I felt like it really painted this beautiful picture of what I wanted to be coming across in these songs.
Okay, I know this will be challenging, but today, July 21st, as we sit here recording this interview, what's your favorite track on the project? Today. It may be different tomorrow, but today.
I feel like it's like picking your favorite kid. I think today I love the song Break the Bottle. It means a lot to me. I got to sing it with one of my heroes, Tiffany Hudson. She wrote it with me and sang on the project as well. So it just holds like a special place in my heart. And the bridge says, pour me out like water, pour me out like oil. There is not another so worthy of it all. And that's just, I feel like the posture of my heart for this project. And so today, that would be the song that I really love. Might change tomorrow.
I love it. You get to sing a song with actually one of my favorite worship leaders, and I'm waiting for him to actually do a whole solo album, which it seems to be taking forever, and that's Joel Hovland. Tell me, how did that happen?
Love Joel. Joel is such like a friend of our house. We bring him in for a lot of things, and so we actually had like a writing camp. It actually was in 2020.
Wow.
Kind of in the midst of a lot going on, a lot of, just all the things going on in 2020. And we sat and we wrote this song called Togetherness. And it was just a cry for unity, for the body of Christ to have one heart, one faith, one like gospel, all of those things. That's really the heart of that song. And working with Joel is such a dream come true. He's one of my favorite people to write with. Just has a heart of gold. And I feel like whenever we get a chance to sit down and write together, it's just like the things that happen are so sweet. So him and Mitch are part of the project, and I'm so grateful for them.
What's the writing process for you like? I can only imagine. Is it God downloading something? What happens?
Man, for me, every single song starts on my piano. And it usually does come from my time with the Lord. What has God been speaking to me specifically for this project? I felt like I was in a season of creative drought, and I would sit at the piano and I felt like nothing I would write would be good. And I just didn't like any of it, and felt like somewhere God had flipped the switch, I guess you say. And I felt like my time with the Lord had just begun to be such a download of things He was speaking to me, themes He was putting on my heart. And so then when I would sit at the piano, it felt like songs just came with such ease, as opposed to the previous season where it felt like such a struggle. And so, sitting on my piano and just truly like, what do I feel like I need to say to the Lord right now? A lot of these songs are kind of my response to Him. And so, starting there, and then usually bring those little starts, whether it's a chorus or a verse, to a group of co-writers, and then they really come to life. And of course, producers that have so much imagination can just bring these songs to another level. So they all start there and then bring them to other people, and they just become what they are now.
If you could describe for me what it's like when you're sitting in an arena like you will tonight, or even in worship on a Sunday morning. Elevation is certainly no small church. When you're in the middle of that and you're hearing people sing songs that you had a hand in writing, what's that like?
Ooh. It is completely humbling to think that we have any part in putting a confession in someone else's mouth. I get so emotional thinking about it because you just never know what God will do with a little start, or with a room of people that are just like, let's write a song for our church. Like, I pray that this blesses someone. So then to stand in an arena full of people just all together singing a song is so impactful. And I don't think I'll ever get used to that feeling. It's so humbling. I'm just really grateful to be a part of something that's really ministering to people, and songs live in rooms that I'll never get to go to, and live in hearts that I'll never get to meet. And that feeling is just truly, truly so humbling.
What do you recall people telling you about what your music has done for them? And I know you've heard from many. What are you recalling that they tell you?
I would say the things that I hear from people that mean the most are, I felt the presence of God for the first time, and I was just in my car. And that is like all you could ever ask for. Yeah. Like, I encountered God through songs from people I never met that truly like shaped my life. And so hearing that type of thing from somebody is like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. And the fact that the Lord would meet you, he's so kind to just meet us. He so longs to be with us that he'll use anything. He'll use a song or a night of worship or whatever, or a sermon to truly like capture our hearts. So when people say they experience God's presence, it's all I could ever ask for.
Nice. How did we get here? Let's look at Tiffany's life. You're a PK, preacher's kid.
Yeah, sure.
So did it begin in church in Pennsylvania? What happened? How did you get to tap into this?
I am a pastor's kid through and through. I was raised in ministry, even to the point where when I would think about what I wanted to do when I grew up, I didn't even know you could do another job other than ministry. Oh, wow. It's just all I ever knew. My family, my whole life was in ministry. My grandparents, super blessed to be raised in an atmosphere of faith. So I always knew I had a desire to serve the church. And when it comes to worship leading, I always loved to sing, but it was never about singing for me. It was this desire to like serve the church and to do what I saw my parents do. They impacted me so much. And so I felt like, you know, as a pastor's kid, a lot of times you're called into roles that maybe you're not ready for, but no one else showed up to do the job. So you're like, you're the one, like the nursery worker didn't show up, so it's you. Or for our youth group, we didn't have anybody that could play the piano. So I learned 4 chords and I got by. And that's kind of my start of like learning to lead worship almost out of necessity. But through that, the kindness of the Lord like just began to break my heart for his presence. And it became all about his presence. I was completely changed like in those moments, and being at the altar of my parents' church, like experiencing his presence for the first time. And I remember being on my knees and saying to the Lord, like, however I can create or steward these atmospheres that changed my life, that's what I want to be a part of for the rest of my life. And so that's what, you know, worship leading is even about for me, of like, I was changed through that. So how can I just help steward these beautiful moments for other people's lives? So yeah.
What do mom and dad say now, looking at you on such a bigger platform than they probably have stood?
Well, anytime we talk about my parents, I feel emotional, so forgive me.
No problem.
They're so proud. They're just cheering me on, like my absolute biggest cheerleaders. But it goes so much further back to being a child and them recognizing, oh, you have this gift, like, let's fan it into flame. And so now for them to see like so much of these dreams realized and so much of these prayers answered, it's just like such a beautiful feeling. And they just are my biggest cheerleaders. So grateful to them.
How do you get from Harrisburg,
That's
Pennsylvania,
right. Yep.
to Elevation Worship in Charlotte, North Carolina based, but globally impacting? How do you
7 hours down the road? No, long story short, I went to college at SEU in Florida and studied ministry. And so at the time, I needed an internship to graduate with my major, and kind of randomly did an internship with Elevation.
Randomly.
Right. To me, it was such a coincidence. But of course, God is so sovereign.
Yes.
How he works. Looking back, I'm like, oh, it was a part of his beautiful plan for my life. But I did an internship with the church for a summer, and little did I know God would have me plant my life there. But, long story short, ended up graduating college, coming back to the church, and ended up coming on staff, and been on staff for about like 5.5 years now. So feels like I just blinked and it all happened. But yeah, the God's sovereignty and how he just lets every story unfold and how specific he is in timing is just really cool to look back on.
I love it. Now, there are some songs that you are certainly known for, and I imagine if people who are followers and listeners, you can't take the stage, and they'll probably be upset if they don't hear. So let me give you at least 3 of them here, and you can give me the story behind it or your connection to it.
Sure.
First one I'm thinking of is one that when I first heard it, I think I played it 15 times on the plane, and I know people looking thought I was crazy. But that's Graves to Gardens.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, that song was so special. We wrote it, I guess years ago now. But it was Pastor Stephen, Chris Brown, Brandon Lake, and myself got together one day, and really no like agenda to write a certain song. Like we didn't go in with, we need to write this crazy song. It just kind of with ease came, and we just began to kind of go on that bridge like and just began to sing those declarations like you turn mourning to dancing, you give beauty for ashes, all of those things. And to see our church respond the way that it has been so cool. And we're gonna sing it tonight at Elevation Nights, and every night it's such a powerful thing to say, you turn graves into gardens. And so yeah, that one's super, super special.
It's funny because I remember interviewing Brandon Lake and asking about that. He goes, I don't even know where that voice came from from me, because that's not how I sing.
It was crazy. The room just felt like I don't know, like the song just came, and it was like this beautiful moment, and Brandon started shouting, and they had electric guitars going, and we were all just worshiping. It was so sweet.
Beautiful. Next one, Wait on You.
Yeah, Wait on You. This song really ministers to me to this day. Wow. I remember we got together, Pastor Stephen, Chandler, Moore, Chris Brown, and myself got together, and we actually just wrote the chorus and the bridge. Wait on the Lord, he will renew your strength. Mm-hmm. I'm going to wait on you, those parts. And that was it. That was all the song that it was. And funny enough, it was maybe weeks or months later that song, that little start had been taken to another group of people, and they got to write the verses and kind of finish it off. But it's kind of cool how even a song that carries the message of waiting had taken a bit of time to be created. And I felt like that it just kind of carried that message, even in the process of creating it. So I love that one.
Last one for you. Never Lost.
Yeah. Oh, Never Lost. This one's sweet. Pastor Stephen, Chris, and myself got together one day in the studio, and I just remember we were no agenda. We're like, let's just have fun and let's write what's on our hearts. And I can remember the chorus kind of started, you can do all things but fail. You can do all things but fail. And then it became, you can do all things but fail. And then finally the melody that kind of opened it, you can do all things. And it just became such a beautiful thing to say, like, you can do all things but fail. You've never lost a battle. And shortly after that, we sang it in church, and just to see our church receive it so well was really cool.
I love it. Just want to get your take on a big night for you guys. What was it like to hear Elevation's name called to receive a Grammy Award for the music you guys do?
Well, all of us just couldn't believe it. We had no idea. So it was just a moment of like gratitude that somehow God saw fit for these songs to reach a level where they're impacting people all over the world. Like, that is absolutely amazing. And to be recognized for that is, again, so humbling. And so we just had a big celebratory time, and all glory to God. It was so beautiful.
So as we sit here on the day of the release for your project, if Tiffany could pray a prayer for the album, what would that prayer be?
I love this question. I would say my prayer is that these songs would lead people to a deeper devotion to Him, a deeper level of consecration, that the listener would feel this tug and this pull to say, I can only live for Jesus. No other life will do. No other person is worthy of it. It's only Him. And so that's my prayer, that you experience the presence of the Lord as you listen, and that He calls you to such a deep level of devotion to Him, because He's so worthy of it.
I'd like to end with this question. You are all grown up now and working and married. If you could go back in time and give advice to that little girl in Pennsylvania, little Tiffany, what would you tell her?
Ooh. I would say, fall in love with Jesus, not what you do for Jesus, because what you do for Him is going to change. I know even season to season in my life it has changed in some ways, but if you fall in love with Him and your foundation is in Him, come or go what may, like, that foundation is established and nothing could shake you. No disappointment or no opportunity. So that's what I would tell her. Fall in love with Jesus.